Hi, cool.
Asma is saying no voice.
या मतलब कोई आवाज नहीं आ रही मुझे अगर तो वीडियो प्ले हो रही है with some sound I can't listen
मुझे भी आवाज नहीं आ रही मुझे तो आप लोगों के वो नेम शो हो रहे हैं बस पता नहीं क्या मसला हो गया
I don't know, थोड़ी देर पहले हमने इसको चेक किया था जब रिकॉर्डिंग स्टार्ट करते हैं तो शायद कोई इशू हो जाता है लेट मी चेक
Women professionals in STEM to come together and connect with each other, share their experiences, learn, and grow in their respective fields. This initiative will also provide a platform for female STEM professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with the younger generation and to mentor and support them in their development. IWISTER Pakistan is a women-led initiative in the USA that fosters an inclusive and equitable STEM science, technology, engineering, and mathematics environment in Pakistan. It provides a platform for women professionals in STEM to come together and connect with each other, share their experiences, learn, and grow in their respective fields. This initiative will also provide a platform for female STEM professionals to share their knowledge and experiences with the younger generation and to mentor and support them in their development.
I am an AI researcher and a member of IWISTER Pakistan. IWISTER Pakistan has a featured program of STEM Cafe. We designed STEM Cafe to cover STEM research, innovation, invention, and entrepreneurship. These are basically many topics of discussion. Therefore, we organize monthly STEM Cafe to cover the different topics from laboratory research to industry and then corporation. We would welcome several field experts, industry scientists, entrepreneurs, and experts from entrepreneurship and corporate innovation. Our purpose is to make IWISTER Pakistan through helping, teaching, and training programs for young researchers, STEM professional faculty, and the industry team of Pakistani universities. You are most welcome to join STEM Cafe.
Hi, I am an AI researcher and a member of IWISTER Pakistan. IWISTER Pakistan leadership team will host the STEM CAF for scholarship guidelines in order to prepare for doctorate and master's admissions. Recently, we received several requests from fresh graduates and researchers for scholarship guidelines. In response to these requests, we established an IWISTER review committee to assess scholarship applications in order to assist young researchers. Reviewing your application before submission is essential to ensure accuracy, clarity, coherence, compliance with requirements, and overall quality. It maximizes your chances of making a positive impression and increases the likelihood of success in achieving your desired outcome. Send us your application package for review. Thank you.
Okay, let me start. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. Amiri Rab, I ask you for beneficial knowledge, goodly provision, and acceptable deeds. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my dear IWISTER audience, Assalamu alaikum. Here is Tabassum to welcome you all to meet our Pakistani women in STM USA. Today's meeting have been particularly designed to talk about the success stories of our guests and learn more about the postdoc application to secure a position in the United States. Let's welcome our guest, Dr. Komal S from the University at Buffalo, SUNY, Dr. Qudsia and Dr. Qudsia Zeb and Dr. Asma Ahsan from University of Minnesota, and Dr. Shumaila Mehmood from Wayne State University. I take the privilege to start with Dr. Asma. Please introduce yourself and share your success story. Thank you.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hoping that all of you are doing good. And so I am Asma, and I completed my PhD from Pakistan, from Lums University. Then I secured a postdoc position in University of Minnesota. So, and here I am working with my main project is based on virology. So on a broader perspective, I'm working on drug discovery candidates against different viral infections and the different other diseases. So from this forum, I just wanted to mention some major points. If you are trying to get some postdoc position in USA, what things do you need to consider? So I usually divide it into two major categories. One is actually based on how to make your profile most attractive and approachable to the experts in your field. Secondly, you should know to whom you contact actually to apply for this postdoc position. So coming to my first point, how to make your profile attractive and approachable to many of the people from your from the field of your expertise. So first of all, very first thing, you need to design a well-explained CV. Well, so it doesn't mean that you always have very many publications, international poster presentations, etc., etc. It means actually whatever you actually have, it should be mentioned there in your CV. You know, I have seen some CVs, people actually generate their CV through some online portal. It's a one-page CV with some basic information about your inter and metric and BS and all that stuff. So whenever you are trying to design your CV, don't use these online platforms. As far as my experience is concerned, they are not that good. They actually represent the recruiter or the to whom you are going for the interview. That you are actually approaching an easy way to design your profile. So just spend some time. Just spend some time on your CV, generate a CV with a very well explained profile. Secondly, you have your CV that is well designed with all your publications, your track record, your international collaborations. Then you need to improve your LinkedIn profile as well. You know, your LinkedIn profile actually in USA, it's my personal experience that if someone wants to hire an employee, they first looked at the LinkedIn. If they find someone most reasonable, they directly approach you from LinkedIn. So try to maintain your LinkedIn profile, mention everything, whatever you know. So you need to mention all the techniques that you can use, that you are using, and that you are intending to use. And secondly, you need to mention all the projects, your research expertise on your LinkedIn profile, make it a public profile. Plus, you need to add people who are from your field of expertise so that whenever they need you, they can just go on the LinkedIn and you are approachable to them, you are accessible to them. They can have a look on your profile and they can access you. So it's the most easiest way for the recruiter in USA, I think. They just go to LinkedIn, look for the profile and the person with in addition to academia, many industries are actually using this criteria to look for the candidates. They usually don't advertise the position. They just go on LinkedIn and try to find some people with their field of expertise and then contacted them through LinkedIn and hired them through LinkedIn. This is all. Secondly, if someone looked at your profile on LinkedIn, you can have a message that this person actually viewed your profile. You can approach that person personally in personal messages and emails. How do they mean how your profile appeal to them and all that stuff. So two things, your CV should be good enough, your LinkedIn profile should be well explained, mention everything about your expertise, your research experience. It should be open. You need to mention open to work so that the person know that you are looking for some job and it is accessible. Your LinkedIn profile should have connections with all the experts in your field. Secondly, how do you know which people are actually major experts in your field? So you can find people from, first of all, through personal connections, that this lab in USA is working on my project like mine, and this lab is working on this project. Secondly, you need, so there are many publications from different labs. Whenever you are doing your literature review or literature survey, you get to know some publications where people are working, and they are working as you are actually working, and they are of the same field. So you can approach many scientists from those scientific articles. Just contact the corresponding author who has a lab in USA and who has been doing research in your field. Plus it happens, if you go back and look over the scientific literature, you will find that many people, so for example, one lab published a paper with 10 different authors. Over the course of time, one or two different author actually are the corresponding author for the upcoming publications. Mean they actually published their own, they established their own lab in USA. So first thing, you need to know which people are working in your field. Contact the corresponding authors of scientific literature. Secondly, try to find out people who recently established their lab, because they are more anxiously looking for people who can come to them, and they are more flexible with their requirement as well. More established the professor is, more higher the requirement is. So based on, if you are starting your career, you need to try to adjust yourself in some environment where someone really needs you. So just try to find people like this one by going their scientific articles and scientific literatures. And so this is all the stuff that how you can improve your profile, how you can approach the people as far as my experience is concerned. Next thing is so when there is an interview, how to give an interview. So I personally think, don't try to exaggerate anything. Represent you whatever you are. So because the recruiter actually knows from your profile what kind of person you are, how expert you are. So the purpose of an interview is just to have an eye-to-eye contact and get to know if you really worked in that field, if you really know about the basic techniques, your basic communication skills. So over here, people don't concern much more with your English communication skills. They are not that, okay, if you can't speak English, you are not a good scientist. They didn't think like that. They just wanted to see how good communication you actually have. So as per my experience, I can say, try to use, as English is not a basic language, it's not a native language. So just try to communicate as simple as you can, the basic English, and try to explain them whatever you are. Don't try to exaggerate them. Sometimes it happens that we in an interview, during some successful interviews, we are being hired, we are being recruited, then we came here in USA, and the person then realized, okay, the person to whom I interviewed didn't have that specific expertise that he actually mentioned during his interview. So it's really a bad impact, and in very few instances although, but the supervisor actually can terminate your job, send you back. So during an interview, have a strong belief on Allah and try to present yourself whatever you are. Last thing that I want to mention, that you are at the best place where you should be. Yeah, you need to try, you need to struggle hard to move forward, but beside the struggle, if you still can't access success, or you can't move forward over here in US or in some other countries for some postdoc positions, just try to be humbled and calm and stay connected with people, build your connections over time. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's a matter of time, actually. You grab knowledge, you grab expertise, you develop your connections, and it's the most easier way to move forward. So that's all from my side. If you need any questions, you can ask me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asma, for briefing us very important points. So I would like to know about how you came here, because your PhD is from Pakistan, and most of our audience ask us because their PhD is from Pakistan and how they can come here. So what are the more valuable points that you consider to connect the professors here and you secured your postdoc position in USA?
So first, I did my PhD from LUMS. So if you are a PhD from some reputable university from Pakistan, that really matters. So, and you know, I personally think that people here, if you talk about LUMS over here, people know what kind of university it is. So one thing. Second thing is I connected with people who are actually working exactly in the same field as mine. I was, and I joined a lab, and the person was he was a startup. He started his lab in 2018, and after 2018 it was all COVID time. He couldn't hire many people. At the time I actually get connected with him, he was really in need for someone who can come and start his lab. Secondly, he wanted someone who actually knows all the basic experimental protocol, the molecular biology in my field. So that is one point. Second point is, during my interview, the person actually later on, he mentioned in my experience letter as well, that I need someone who is more directed and more focused. And he said me, I choose you because you were more focused. The interesting thing is, he actually mentioned that during our interview, I can listen some sounds from the background. It was 12 a.m. midnight during my online interview on Zoom with him before this hiring. So my daughter wake up at night. She was crying, but I was just giving an interview. He said, from that, at that point, I just get an idea how focused you are. Even the background noise doesn't make you to just distracted from this, from our point of discussion. You have been more focused and more directed with our discussion and all that stuff. So the recruiter actually tried to judge your personality, what kind of person you are, how focused you are, how directed you are, how targeted you are. And when you are giving an interview, you should know what you are going to do. Secondly, you should know about the profile of that specific professor, that what he is actually working. So during an interview, obviously, if someone is doing research in some specific area, they can ask you question from that specific area. So if you have read some papers from the professor before, you have an idea what kind of research the person is actually doing, then you are in a better position for an interview or for a communication. So I think that was the main point. I know the profile of the professor, his scientific literature. I know that he needs a person. I have a contact with some people over here in USA. From them, I got to know, okay, what kind of lab it is and all that stuff. So I communicated in a better way during my interview. That was all that actually selected me. I can't say that I had a very established research profile. It was a startup for me as well, but my personality, my gesture, my communication convinced him how to move forward. So I think that all matters.
Okay, thank you so much. My last question is there any many publications are required in your field, or some what kind of protocols you present during
I think, okay, publication is one criteria to judge how established, how well profiled you are, but it's not the only thing. So if you actually did some work really by yourself, you know the techniques. And one thing, you have some technical expertise. Second thing, you have some you really know the research question, you really know the need of the time. that matters more. You know, some professors actually ask, why do you specifically want to come to my lab? It's a basic question in many interviews. And I think the best answer is what the problem is. If you know that the specific professor is working on this specific problem, then you can say, okay, this is the problem that is actually existing over here in US or in Pakistan or in some other country. It needs its attention, it needs more research, and I wanted to resolve this issue or do some research in this field, and I know the basic criteria how to move forward with this research question. And you know really the resolution, the solution, the research, the target, that is, I think, way more important than your publications. Some people had many publications, but they are just producing the papers. They are just like the robots. They doesn't know, they doesn't know the research question. They doesn't know how to move forward with the research. They just said, okay, I know this technique, this technique, this technique, but they don't know how to address many scientific questions. You should know a basic experimental protocol. You should know if there is a problem, then what is the scientific way to resolve that issue. I think that is more important than your publications.
I do agree. Yes. Yeah, and any question from audience? Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
I have one question.
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Asma, for explaining everything in a very beautiful and brief way. I have one concern that if you are doing postdoc from the United States, so during the period of your postdoc, it is mandatory to have research publications, because as per I know that during your PhD, you must, in China, you must need to publish some papers and then you can graduate. So how about the criteria of a postdoc in the US?
So yeah, you need, so if you are going to secure a PhD, you need some publication to complete your degree. Without publication, you can't complete your degree. So to secure a postdoc, this is not the requirement actually, that if you don't have a publication, you can't get a position. Definitely, if you have a publication, it's more easier for you to move forward. So, but okay, if you say, for example, if you have 1 or 2 publications and you want to apply for a postdoc, I will never say that don't apply, improve your profile, get more papers, then apply for a postdoc. So it doesn't, it matters actually, but if you, so my point was just, if you have a very few publications, you can still move forward with the postdoc position. It is not mandatory for you to have 4, 5, or 6 research papers and then you are eligible to apply. It's not the case actually. You can apply for a postdoc position, but even you have 1 or 2 research papers, you just be expert in your field. You should just know the research question, the basic concept, and all that stuff.
Okay, thank you. But if you are enrolled in postdoc program in United States, so still we have a pressure of publishing papers. Sometimes, you know, we just focus on research and we cannot able to publish paper. So that's my concern, that in postdoc you also have that kind of passion which you have gone through during your PhD.
I never remember if my professor ever asked me how many publications do you have or how many papers. You know, I recently switched to another lab. So I went, I think I have given 10 or 15 interviews for a postdoc position in UMN. And I can't remember if someone ever asked me, although they had my CV before the interview, but they didn't ask me about my publications. They just asked me how many techniques you know, how many research questions you addressed in the past. If I have this project and there is a problem, how can you address them? So this is a summary from all the interviews, you know, 15 different interviews in different labs with different background. I didn't give these all interviews in the biology lab. There were many different labs with different background. They all were focused on this thing, that if I had this research question, how you address them. Yeah, there is a pressure that we need to produce some publications, definitely. Over here, the professors, they are also on some contracts, they need to extend their contract and all that stuff. There is a pressure over here as well. But you know, in Pakistan, I came across some universities, their main focus is to produce some scientific papers. So they actually choose whatever way they try to get the paper, even very low quality paper. But over here, you will produce a publication, but they will be of some profile. They won't be like that, you know, very just a in some low impact journal and all that stuff. Over here, you learn the scientific question, you address the scientific question, you produce some productive data, and then you move forward for the experiment. You need to produce scientific literature over here as well. That is the primary goal for a postdoc. But at the time of recruitment, they don't focus much on publication. They focus much on your caliber, how much potential you have to move forward with the research question.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asma, for explaining this in a very good way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arfa. Is there any question from audience?
I think I can add the answer to the Arfa questions, that she asked whether we have any pressure, just like we faced in PhD, that we must have publication to be graduated. But I think it depends on whether you are doing postdoc in industry or you are doing postdoc in academic. If you are doing postdoc in academia, like in university, so you must have face some pressure from the PI, that at least you get a publication in at least 2 years, 1.5 years. But supervisor can see your directions, that in which direction you are going. You are getting your goals, like you are getting your results, and your direction is clear. So then you will not face any pressure from the supervisor, because he know that you are getting some gold mine. But I think as compared to academic, there is less pressure in industry. But in industry, it is very difficult after PhD. Like just after PhD, it is there are very less chances to get postdoc in the industry. But you can switch after first postdoc, you can switch to industry for the second postdoc or for any other research scientist position.
Thank you so much, Dr. Komal, for explaining this question. Actually, I never experienced these kind of things. Whenever I experience, I will definitely realize the actual fact behind this. I heard that when you are doing postdoc in academia, it is very difficult to find a position in an industry. So one of my fellows, he did 3 postdocs in academia and still is finding a good position in university and still struggling very hard. So what are your thoughts about this?
I think it depends on the it depends on what are your research projects you did, and what are means how much publication you get during your postdoc, what are your skills, and based on that postdocs, when you are switching to the postdoc in industry, then they must care about your research project which you did in your current or previous postdoc position. So in industry you get interviewed, but I don't think so you will get easily the postdoc position in the industry side. But you can get the research scientist position in the industry side. But I think postdoc is difficult to get in US on the industry side.
So,
but hospitals,
if you don't mind, yeah, I would like to answer this question. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ayaz. I will answer both questions very quickly. Number one, the pressure of papers. So see, the papers are your productivity. Postdocs are the workhorse of any lab. The postdoc works just like a PhD. The only thing is semi-supervised, which means you are given the now this flexibility that you can run your own project, but your supervisor will definitely meet you periodically just to make sure things are going the right way, because this is part of your training. They know you will publish eventually, just like PhD. By the way, my first paper author was not even published before I got my postdoc at Harvard. So publication, your references are has to be strong. Your CV, of course, it was a very good point that CV is the window to your personality. You have to put so much effort to make a very nice, attractive, and very reasonable CV to get the attention. So publication is necessary, and then know you will publish based on how you are performing in the lab. Okay, so that point should be cleared. Now, how much you can produce, everybody's different, and your supervisor will know that. So the pressure will be there, and if your advisor sees that you are not performing well, they will adjust. So don't worry about that. This is part of their responsibility. But the more independent you are from your supervisor, is a good thing, because then you get more projects. So keep that in mind. Don't be as a postdoc. Don't become the assembly worker, just working. No, ideas. The more ideas you have, the better researcher you are. You should know the techniques, but you should not just sit down because you can train PhD students, eventually. So that was one of the questions that I wanted to, clarify. The second one about the industry and the academia. If somebody is not getting a job in industry, that means they need to assess their profile. You can do as many postdoc, but if you're not properly planning to do what you want to do, you will never get that particular job. So you have to plan it. You have to acquire that skills. Academia, you are the boss. You have a grant. You are the boss of your research lab. You do whatever you want. In industry, you are asked to do what you should do. Okay, because they are a money-making industry. They will make you, make sure that if they are paying you some amount of money, they will make 10 times of it. So it's two different skill sets that you have to have. In industry, you must have a different skill set, not just the technical one. So that's where it becomes a little bit complicated. And last thing I would say, if you're not getting job, getting postdoc, more postdoc would not help you. Believe me, one postdoc is more than enough. I did 2 postdocs, 15 years ago, 17, but I knew I was changing my area of expertise. Just like Asma said that she changed the lab. If she did, I'm sure she had a good plan for it. So when you're planning to change the lab, you have a good plan and then you do it accordingly. So I just want to, give this point right now so you guys get the basic idea.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayaz. Actually,
thank you so much, Dr. Ayaz, for this.
Yeah, yesterday night, Komal and I were discussing, and I told her, because you are a senior person, you came here to USA far more before us. So हम आपके बारे में भी जानना चाहेंगे कि आप कैसे आए और आपकी success story. So before going towards your story, first I want to say, Dr. Komal Slim, please speak about, and after you guys, then I would like to know more about Dr. Ayaz Khan as well.
Thank you very much. So I am Komal Slim, currently doing postdoc in the State University of New York, Buffalo. I did my master and MS from Qaid University from the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology. After my MS, I start applying for different scholarships. At that time, most of the people are applying for CSC scholarship in China. So I also applied for that and I got scholarship. And then in 2017, I went China and pursue my PhD in the Department of Genetics. And in 2.5 years, I completed my PhD in 2020. And just after my defense, I wait for 2 or 3 days, then I start searching for the postdoc positions in different university, like on the Canada side, Europe, or the US side. But I just saw the one postdoc at that time in the University of Buffalo, and I just simply write a formal email and attach a simple formal CV to the supervisor in the Department of Physiology and Biophysics. He is also a Chinese, and he is working on Alzheimer and Parkinson. So I just email him, and within 1 hour he just replied me back that I want to interview you. So he just gave me a date, and I just in that interview he just asked me to present my previous work. So in that Zoom meeting or interview, I just give a brief overview of my research work, what I did in my PhD, just to the point. I didn't explain. I explain whatever I know. I didn't explain what I don't know. He asked me, you know about R language, Python, or this. I told him I don't know about these things. I just know about the molecular biology, biochemistry, functional evaluation of the variants, Sanger sequencing, and this type of thing. So he just he just listened to my research projects, and then he asked me about my publications. So I just told him that I have only 3 publications as a first author and 4 publication as a co-author. So then he tell me about his lab, what he is working on. Like most of the time he talks about his lab, and I think at that time that was a period of COVID, and most of the labs in United States needs a lot of postdoc researcher for their labs. So he just interviewed me, and after one hour of interview, he sent me another email that I select you for my lab as a postdoc. So within 1 month, he sent me the documents, and I go embassy, get my visa, and then came here in US and start working on. Like when I came here in US, I don't know about, like I hear about the stem cells people are working on, because stem cells are nowadays new, not the new things people don't know about. But in China, I just work on the simple cell line culturing. But here when I came, I don't know about so much about the stem cells. But in this lab, they just he just asked me, don't just sit, try to communicate with the lab members, as like when you speak with the people more and more, you get to know with how they are working, because every person in the lab is working on different projects. He asked me just to talk with them, every person, every day, and just follow them in what they are doing, and learn, because every person is doing different things. You can learn some different things from every person. So I personally don't get any training when I join the lab. I just follow the person in the lab. At that time, there are 6 to 7 postdocs already in the lab. So every day I just ask them about the question. So within 15 days, I start my own project for the optimization of the differentiation of iPS cells into cortical neuron. So within 6 to 7 months, I optimize the protocol, and then he asked me for another project. So after that, I start working by using the first project. I start working on the another project. This is how you apply for the postdoc. And other thing I want to mention, that whenever you want to apply for a postdoc, you have to make a list of the university and your respective department in which you want to apply, like your major. And also in every department there are different supervisor, and every supervisor has their own directions they are working on. So you have to contact your very specific supervisor, and just first I think you just email for go search their website. Here in United States, you can get every supervisor has their website, like this is Dr. blah 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 lab website, this is blah blah website. So you just go through their lab website, their publication mentioned on the website. You have to read all about their work they are doing. After going through all, if you are interested in their work, then you have to make your mind. Just write a simple email and send them that I am interested in the postdoc positions. If you are hiring any postdoc in your lab or in future, just randomly email some. Or also this also matters that first see that if any lab is giving the opportunity for the postdocs, so also email them. And if they are interested, then the second point is for the interview. So during the interview they will ask you about the question, but if they are asking you question, you should also have to ask them question about their lab. If you just blindly sit down during the interview, then they will, I am sure they will never consider for the position. Because if they, just Asma mentioned that your CV should be strong, but when you send them CV, just CV also doesn't matter, because you can write anything in your CV, whatever you want. But when supervisor interview you, he will judge you that you are not what you mentioned in your CV. So prepare yourself for the interview, read a lot about their papers. It don't take a lot of time. Just go through abstract discussions about their research works, and just make at least 5 to 7 questions, just normal basic 5 to 7 questions related to their research work. And they will ask you why you are planning to join our lab. There are a lot of labs working on these projects. Why you are interested in our lab? Then you have to mention that why you are interested. That you are interested, your work, research work is almost parallel to my research expertise. Your research expertise should match to their to their research project. At least your some research skills match to their research work. Because when I apply for this postdoc, they are totally different from my PhD work. I work on the genetics in my research, PhD research, but here when I came, I work on the stem cell. But most of my research techniques or research skills which I use in my PhD projects, they are similar, like Western blotting, immunostaining, RNA extraction, qPCR. These are the simple basic molecular biology techniques. So some supervisor take you in your lab based on your research techniques. They can say that you can come to their lab and continue your project, but for that you must have to have a good interview with them. Like if they can see you, like first impression is the last impression. CV is your first impression, but your interview, your questions during the interview also make a good impression. If you also ask them question about what are the lab research products, like goals for the future goals for the lab projects or these things, and what are your future goals, like your future goals and their lab research goals should at least match. That's why you are joining their lab, that you want to switch to. And then you can switch any, like if I am from the genetics lab, I can come in the another different departments. But I explained that him that my future goals are like same like your research works. You are working in your research goal like in your lab. So this is and another thing is you can search different postdoc at different platforms. Nowadays there are a lot of like LinkedIn, ResearchGate. You can make your profile there very brief and mention everything about your research skill, and at the end, don't if you don't get for the first interview, you don't get any postdoc, take it serious. Every rejection is give you experience. At least you when you have an interview with a new person, eye to eye contact, you can get some experience for the next time. You will not repeat that mistake what you did in your first interview. So don't take any rejection as a failure. Just take that as an experience, and don't lose hope. Just go and apply when you find a good suitable postdoc position.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Komal, for explanatory I think you are, cover all the points that's quite needed, including Asma as well. So let's move to Dr. Qudsia. Dr. Qudsia, please introduce yourself and your struggle and how you came here and how you applied, because the question what I'm missing here in last two from Dr. Komal and Dr. Asma, you can add. That's what's the criteria in your university, like in Minnesota? What's the nature of the professors? And mostly professors pick the postdoc from their collaborators, not from outsider. So, because please add this point as well and introduce yourself and your journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hasina. So I am Qudsia Zeb. I did my PhD from China, Capital Normal University, Beijing, in the year of 2020. I have been graduated in the year of 2020, and then I start to apply for the postdoc position. And I applied a lot. I got a lot of denial, but I still keep applying. And then actually I shifted from my major. My PhD work is about plants, calcium channels and calcium sensors, regulation of calcium channels by calcium sensors for the root hair growth. But I was applying for the postdoc position, and I was also working as IPFP fellow at the University of Haripur in Pakistan. So I just actually I applied a lot, and because I was tired, and then I was applying randomly to all the people. So once I received an email from my professor, to whom I am currently working with. She said that in the email, she said, "Have you seen the advertisement?" I said, because actually I said, "Yes, I did." She said, "It's totally changed from your major." I said, "Yeah, I know that." And she said, "Why? You are working on plants, and then now you want to work on brain cancer?" I said, "Yep, I want to." And she said, "Oh," she find it very interesting, and she said, "Okay, let's get connected." And she asked me, we should have interview. I said yes. And then during my interview, first she want to know what I did during my master's and PhD. And then she said, "Oh yeah, you are a master's and PhD. All work is about maize, wheat, Arabidopsis, and now you want to work on brain cancer." I said yes. She said, "Why?" The normal answer usually people do. I said, "I am interested in brain tumors." She said, "No, you are not." And then she asked me a basic question about brain tumor. Because I have been studied brain cancer in my master BBS and my master's. And she said, "Yeah, your basics is very good." And then she asked me about the skills what I did during my PhD. And then she said that, "Yeah, I want to continue with you because I find you very competent. Your basic is very strong, and what you did during your PhD, your techniques, whatever you are explaining is very good. I want to continue with you. But it's hard for me because she is assistant professor now, and now she is associate professor. Because she said I need to give an explanation to head of department. So I will talk to him, and then I will let you know." And as far as the projects concerned about here, that I am, she said that if I will teach you the techniques, and it's up to you how you run the project. If you can understand basics and everything, and then if you can run the project, and I will see if you can work for 1 year, and then we will continue. I said, yes, why not? And then she discussed with our HOD, head of department of the neurosurgery department. And the person said, our professor, he said, "You want to give a chance to a girl? She is just graduated and very fresh, and she have no experience to work on mice." She said, "Yeah, I want to." "And you want to give her researcher 5 position?" She said, "Yes." And my professor said, "I don't think so it will work, but if you want, then I can give you acceptance, because for the researcher 5 positions we need acceptance from the department." She said, "Why not? We can just give a chance. If she cannot continue, then she cannot." And then I got every document, and then I came here. I didn't know anybody in the US. When I was coming here, I just called Dr. Hasina Tabassum. She said, "You are okay, you are fine. You have been living in abroad like 4 or 5 years. Just go ahead, and as far as it's concerned about your major, don't worry about if it will not work. If it will not work, and if it will work, then it's okay." And then I just came here, and I didn't touch mice before, and now I am handling 400 to 500 mice, and I learned all the techniques, and it's up to me how, if I understand the basics of the project, and then it's up to me that how can I run the project. So just last month my professor went back her home, and she said to me, "You are good at your work. For the mice work, you are even better than me." So I really think so that it always doesn't matter, that you just stick with your major and you just continue with what you, because if you will just I applied for shifted from plants to animal. It's not that I was interested, because I was getting denial from because there was very limited opportunities for plant work, and so they were very I cannot get position over there, so I just applied, and then I got a position. And if you can communicate, and if you know what you did in your master's and PhD, and you're skillful, and you know the ideas, and you know the science, because science is not just you learn the technique and do it. You should know why you are doing and what you have to do, and then if it works, then what should be the next step. So if your mind is working like as a scientist, you can do whatever you want. To learn a technique is just a basic thing, and it's very easy. You can learn, and in few months you will be the expert. So
Impressive.
thank you.
It's really impressive. Okay, any question from Dr. Qudsia Zeb? From audience to Dr. Qudsia Zeb, please go ahead and open your mic. If no more question, then
So Qudsia, I can ask you a question.
Sure,
So now with so much experience, if somebody asks you now, the last time, by the way, it was a very interesting, the way you explained it was. This is exactly how I get queries, and this is exactly how journalists have. They have no planning, they're not prepared. So what you said, you just give a very basic and very a typical answer. Oh, I just like your research work. That was the answer. And it was, of course, anybody would do that, right? When you're not prepared. Yeah. Now, with so much experience, if the same question is asked, how would you respond to that?
Because as far as my experience now, I think I will not apply like randomly anywhere, because now it was like I was just fresh graduated and I was in search of any postdoc position, so I did that. Actually, I also applied in my field, but later I started to apply for and now I will be just focused on, I will consider about my expertise and about my project, and I am very satisfied with what I'm doing here, because I'm working on immunotherapy, and it's like combination immunotherapy, NK cells, oncolytic virus for brain tumor. So now I will just read all over the project and demand of position, and I will consider I will just first I will just analyze myself that if I can get if I can do that, and then I will go ahead with full preparation and for the position. And I will not consider, if I have to do just postdocs, so why not here? But I will not consider any postdoc position anywhere else. If I'm just doing postdocs, so I can do here, but I will consider a better position, and then I have to prepare for that.
Yes, and I also think that it doesn't matter whether you work in past on the plant, because plant, animal, basic is same. Cell, plant has living cells, animal living cell. Basic is simple cell. You can switch to any lab, whether in past you work on plant and now you are switching to the humans or animal work. So it doesn't matter. It only thing that matters is how much command you have to talk to the person who is interviewing you, that if you have the command full, at least 70 to 80% you have command, you have read a lot about their research. You didn't sit just blindly and she is asking you questions and you say that I am interested in your lab, that's why I am applying, I'm interested, I love your work. Anyone can say this, but when she asks the questions from you and you reply, like you answer the questions like about your basics, everything, then she gives you a chance and you got it.
Right.
So the thing is, you have to command, you have command on your, what you are talking.
Exactly. So I would like to point to things which was very interesting from Qudsia. Number one, she, to my answer to my question, she said that if I go from here, why would I would not go for anything lesser. This is exactly how your attitude should be. If you are doing something and you want to switch for better, okay, your religion allows you, the creator allows you that you should demand and you should ask for more. So don't go for anything low. If you want to change, go for something bigger, and of course accordingly you have to prepare. It's a very good attitude. The second thing that I would like to point out, that where she said in her story that you should just not know why you're doing it. You should know, how you're doing it. You should know why you're doing it. So see, having a skills, you can have a lot of skills, but if you do not know how to use it, meaning for any research question, it is basically not as useful. So you should know why you're using it. And then I think Komal did compliment that you can learn literally any skills in 3 to 6. Like I have trained people before. I don't do it now. I'm in a completely different position now. But you can train people. You cannot change their personality. Stop doing that. If you ever think you can change any personality, nobody can do that. So generally, when you are interviewed, जब आपको interview किया जाता है, the only thing they see is your personality. They have already seen your CV. They know what you can do and they can train you. So don't worry about that. Any human can be trained. Okay. Otherwise, you're a robot. Like I think it was Asma who did say that they don't want robot. Believe me, they do not want a robot in their lab. They want human being with feelings, with ideas. And I think it was Komal who was asked that communicate with your colleagues. Exactly. If you do not communicate, believe me, you'll be out. One of my students, I've been doing this for the past 20 plus year. One of the students was, it was a PhD. I did, train her and all that. And I told her that you don't speak too much, please. When you are there, speak as much as possible to people. She did not. And guess what? They failed her for one reason. You did not communicate with your other participants. Okay. Communication is the key. And then communication of the ideas is the key to your success. Okay, so these are the point. Pretty much every single one of you have said it, and I know there's a couple of more participants, but I just wanted to reiterate. And believe me, the other two, they would give you exactly the same points. So these are the points that you should know. And I'm reiterating it because this is the point. They have said it. It should be emphasized. And hopefully when we finish, we can discuss further. Thank you so much for the time, by the way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ayaz, and thank you so much, Qudsia. Thank you, Komal. Let's move to our next guest, Dr. Shumaila. Please open your mic and camera and speak more about your journey.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you very much for having me. And I would like to introduce myself first. So I'm Dr. Shumaila Mehmood, and I'm just working as a a postdoc research associate at Wayne State University. And I joined here in January 2023. Before that, my story is kind of similar like Dr. Zeb, because I graduated from China, from Anhui University. So at that time, I was working on therapeutic medicinal mushrooms. So now I'm working in auditory neuroscience, right? So when I graduated, I came back from China in December 2019, and the COVID situation was very too much worse at that time. So I just left China. I just took permission from my professor and I just left China. When I reached back to Pakistan, my professor said that you have to compile all your data, all your results, and you have to prepare for the online defense. So that was quite a stressful time for me, because I worked on my PhD thesis, and I then finally got an approval from the reviewers and my professor, and I defended my PhD online in June 2020. So after that, of course, I was freshly graduated. I was a kind of like, I am a doctor and I have to continue my work. I have to like go with my profession. And, you know, I just decided to get a chance for postdoc position. That was totally like kind of a random, I started applying for postdocs, and that was a random, kind of random applies everywhere. And when when I applied for China, applied to China for postdoc positions, I got no response. After getting a few responses, the professor would deny. They would say that there are some visa issues, so you cannot come and you have to wait, or okay. So after that, I changed my direction. I just started applying randomly to the US. I was not having any idea. I was not at all like sure that I have the ability to get an opportunity from the US. So I got this postdoc position in January 2021. So like after June, I just kept on applying, but I didn't get any response, just because I was thinking that maybe my CV is not good enough or anything like that. But once I just randomly sent an email to this professor with whom I'm currently working with, and he said that, okay, I will interview you. You have to present. You have to give me some presentation on some research paper. So anyways, it took like almost 15 days. He got back to me. We had an interview, and during my interview, he asked me about my research skill, my research expertise, because I had a background about biochemistry and molecular biology techniques. So I was familiar with all the genotyping, PCR, Western blot, DNA sequencing, etc. So he said, okay, I'm just agreed to accept your application, but you have to wait due to the COVID situation in the US and everything. I said, okay. I was like so excited that finally I got got a kind of approval from the professor. And so anyways, we just proceeded. I had to provide him the recommendation letters. And after that, when I provided the recommendation letter, there was again a delay, because he said I have some project funding issues, so you have to wait. So I waited for like for 5 to 6 months, and I finally got my documents in September 2021. I got a visa. I got my schedule with the embassy for the interview. Second thing which actually delayed my joining here was my interview at the embassy. When I was not like kind of well prepared, because everyone told me that you have to be confident, you have to explain well about your research or whatever they ask you, right? When I went to the embassy for the interview, the officer asked me a question. I was so much confused at that time. So that is one of the reasons that you must avoid it if you are applying for the visa for like to any embassy, right? So they asked me that you have worked. He just looked at my CV and he said, you have worked on medicinal mushrooms, you have worked on therapeutics, and now you are going to switch your work to the auditory neurosciences. So what is the connection between them? So I was a kind of confused at that time. I didn't answer him well. Because of that reason, he just said that, okay, we will just retain your CV, your documents, and you have to wait. And I was refused for the visa at that moment, right? So okay, fine. I was like very disappointed at that time. I was not having that this is the kind of a step for getting the US visa. When I got back from the embassy, I was like all sure that I'm not going to get the visa, although after such a long delay. And you know, so he said that after I came back from the embassy, I got an email from the embassy, and they asked me for further clarification documents that I had to provide them, like my CV, my research project, everything. So I provided them, and then after that, I got an email from the embassy that your visa is in administrative processing for more than, and it went in administrative processing for more than 5 months. That time period was very hectic for me, and I was like totally kind of committed to that professor, because that professor would arrange some online meetings with me. I had to present some papers. I had to like read about his research area, research background, because I was totally new to it, right? So that time was very hectic for me, very tough for me, and I just, you can say, I didn't apply anywhere else, because I was damn sure that I will get my visa like after 1 month, 2 months from everyone, because everyone has different experience for getting the US visa, right? Finally, I got my visa in March 2022, right? When I got my visa, I was so excited. I was all set to fly. And then suddenly I got an email from my professor, and he said, no, you have to wait. I have got some funding issues. I got my ticket done in May. I had to wait again for for May, June, July. I mean, I came here in January 2023. So I had to wait again for more than like 5 to 6 months. And believe me, it made me quite frustrated. I was not having any other option. I was having no job in Pakistan, although I got qualified for IBFP, that is the program given to the freshly graduated PhD from HEC, but I didn't avail that, just because I was like quite sure that I'm just going to get there one day. So finally, I came here in January, and believe me that the whole process was quite hectic for me. And when I came here, the other thing was that the field was totally different for me. Auditory neurosciences. I was having no idea about that. I was having no experience like animal handling, animal breeding, even multiplex immunofluorescence, all these techniques. I was not familiar with them. But thankfully, my professor was quite cooperative, is quite cooperative, still quite cooperative, but very demanding as well at the same time. So now, after working with him for more than 6 or 7 months, I have got a lot of expertise. I have got a lot of, you can say that I'm just now able to answer a lot of research questions. So up to my understanding, if you're getting a postdoc in any other country, in any university you are interested in, the first thing is that for you have to make your CV strong, right? Because up to my experience, I think my CV was not good enough. I made it quite elaborative. I explained all my research expertise, skills, all my publications, although they were first author, they were second author, all my book chapters, everything. The second thing was the interview, because during the interview, I was very confused. I was very nervous when I was having the first interview with my professor. So the second thing what I learned is, during the interview, you have to be concise. You have to be like show your interest, that you're interested actually to work with him in his field, and you have to show him that you can work even on those techniques, or even you can work in that research area in which you have not previously worked on, like in my case, because I just switched my field from therapeutic medicines to the auditory neurosciences, right? And the third thing is that after my experience, the embassy interview is very, very important for you, because if you are going to answer all the questions confidently and in a good way, then you are going to get your visa at that time, at the spot, right? So this is all my experience, and my suggestions for all the audience here is that CV is very important. Your interaction with your professor is very important, and it's not like if there is a rejection, if there is a denial, if there is a delay, because everything happens for a good reason. Today I'm here and I have learned a lot. I have a very good research experience, and today I am at the position that I am capable enough to guide other people that how you can come here, how you can make your CV strong, how you can have good research questions to address and everything, right? So second thing is that you have to be optimistic, get your dreams if you have, but at the same time, you have to be patient as well. You have to keep praying for the best of your future, your career. So getting into the US is not easier. It was not easier for me. Like, if I just specifically talk about my case, it was not easier for me. But today I believe that if you're working hard, if you are determined, if you're optimistic, so you are just going to get it finally. So that's all from my side about my experience and my expertise. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shumaila. It's really interesting. I really enjoyed it. It's a wonderful experience, particularly visa related. I guess you're right.
Yeah,
Everyone has different experience.
So Shumaila, I have a question for you as usual. By the way,
yeah, sure.
I graduated from Wayne State in
Oh,
2008.
nice.
Uh,
Great.
um, so my question to you, if you redo the whole process and after you are given the words, okay, you know, you have the job, you have the position, and it was 2021. Okay, so let's say,
Mhm.
would you wait for and the professor emails you, hey, I don't have the funding, would you wait or would you rather keep applying with experience now?
I would keep applying.
Keep applying. See, that was your fault. You should have not stopped applying. See, never, you're not committed to anyone, keep applying. So it's a journal suggestion for everyone. If somebody gives you, you have the position, but there is if and buts, there is a condition, keep applying. You have, there is no way they can, by the way, even if you come to USA with one lab and you want to switch, no problem at all. There is no law, there is no such thing that they can hold you. If they do, you can go to HR and you can do much more. So I hope you never have to do it, but please keep applying. So that was one of the points that I wanted to clarify that, and now she and Shumaila also agreed by she answered the question. Second thing,
Yeah.
for the visa, so like I said, I have been doing this for decades. And in visa, the people who have never been to embassy, they will give you so many suggestions, which are basically, they will hurt you. And I do this all the time. I do visa interview with the student for visa interviews. And I do, one-to-one with the YouTube if possible on a videos too. Otherwise, I have a long list. I have videos on everything except the visa one. I will probably make that one too. In the visa, 30 seconds, that's all it takes, yes or no. They already have made the decision.
Yes.
In 30 seconds, they will either affirm it or they will reject it. So if they ask you why you're going to, I'm just giving you a quick summary. If they ask you a question, give them 5 to 10 seconds of answer. Okay, 5 seconds is the best. If you start giving them, long stories, they will lose it. Okay. So never ever try to, and never overemphasize in the visa interview, and never give them misinformation, because what happened is they have already done their homework and things can go wrong. I think your visa was accepted. Administrative processing is common. I applied visa right after 9/11 in 2002, and that was the first time they introduced this processing, the administrative. Long story short, I have students, and unfortunately, some of them female, 3 years, they have never received their visa. 3 years, it was done. One of them she got after 9 months. One of them she got one after 1.5 years. One of them, she applied to Germany, went there, and now her visa came. So administrative process, you have no control on it. Some of them, I even helped them write a letter to their senator in the state. So one of them, she was in Texas. So we wrote a letter to senator in Texas. They wrote the letter to embassy in US in Pakistan. They said, look, this is our process. We will do our due. I mean, they didn't say all these things, but they say, yeah, she's in administrative processing. Unfortunately, you cannot do much there except to wait. But the second time, when you again had the same hiccup, where the professor had the funding issue, you had again another chance, apply elsewhere.
Yeah.
So always have different options. To be honest, like, this is your life,
Yeah.
and you have all the freedom to choose wherever you want to go. And just for general public message. Otherwise, Shumaila would have been by now 2-year postdoc already, because it's been 2021, now 2023. But delays come. And she had the patience, and you have to have patience, believe me.
Yeah, one thing I would like to ask you, Dr. Ayaz, because after, as you said, that I have to go for some other options during
Right.
all this delay, right? So actually, I got a few options from China as well, and some of my colleagues, they were like pushing me hard that you have to avail these chances, because US is not the only place that where you will go and get a bright career. So at that time I was a kind of confused, because many people suggested me that US is the best if you just compare it with China, right?
Correct.
I don't know why people think that. I mean, I'm not like thinking that US is the only destination in which you can get a very good career opportunities. China, because I worked in China for 4 years during my PhD, so I learned a lot from there as well, from China as well. So how would you like to answer my question? Like, if someone would suggest me that you have to choose between US and China, you have the good postdoc positions in both of the countries, you have the good salary package, you have good the research opportunity, good university ranking. So how would you like to answer this question? Because I would, at my time, I was very confused. I couldn't decide at that time.
Gotcha. So number one, diversification. Diversify your skills. You're from Pakistan. You did your PhD in China. Come to USA. Now you have 3 different skills from not about technical skill. Different culture, different work ethics, different way of working, different setup of academia. Everything. So diversification. If you have asked me, that I would say yes, USA blindly, not because of good and bad, because of diversification. Okay, because now Pakistan, China, India, in Pakistan, USA, if you sit now with the interview and somebody interview for a scientist job or staff scientist or PI or whatever, they'll be like, look at this, 3 different countries. Okay, versus somebody who was born and raised in US, they were like, no, her, because she has a diversity and whatnot. Okay, so everything is there. Second, which is very personal, what is your not you, but I'm journal. What is your long-term goal? What do you want to do in life? Do you want to settle overseas in a country with a better life? You want to go back? This thing comes too.
Yeah.
America, of course, offers you much more than any other country. Plus, in terms of acceptance, I'll be really honest, you cannot beat USA by any means. Like I said, I've been doing this for so many years, other countries, other places versus here. The opportunity, the give back to the society, like you all are here and you're giving it back. It still works there, and you can still help in that regard. So that will be my 2 cents about about the question that you asked me. By the way, there were some other stuff too, but if there are any other participant that need to speak, then I have some points that I wrote from all from everyone. I would just like to go over it if possible toward the end.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Ayaz, and thank you so much, Shumaila. I always I just have a feeling related to science research. It is not country oriented, although diversity is a good point. But when it was the time in 2013 January, when I decided to go to China because of Peking University. Because ranking of Peking University was high, the group where I was decided to go, that was full facilitated, because I thought I can do very good research, because that was the only university where I applied. I never applied in USA or some other country. So yes, I went there and I learned a lot. But the perspective about the paper publication that everyone was saying is not that important, but I would say if you're doing some project, don't need to publish too many papers, just 1 or 2 papers from that particular project should become out.
Yep.
And the quality of, because that will represent your skills. If you will say, okay, I have such certain skills, but you don't have proof, so how can satisfy the professor who is sitting in USA or in UK or in some other university? So in my career, I completed about 5 or 7 projects, and I have first author paper 5 or 7 and good quality work. And here in USA, when I came here, I found a project to my PI, the industry project. That was ammonia decomposition to hydrogen, and that recently one of my patents published, and I heard that they are going to start a new startup for the ammonia decomposition to hydrogen. That's a Batterjee Corporation. That's a very famous in New York. So I just published 1 paper for that project, and based on 1 paper and Toyota, some principal scientists from Toyota, they contacted me. I never applied. The reason to say that I'm not so much expert and genius, but the reason is I'm more focused. As Asma was saying, focus is very important. Don't run towards the more paper. If we see now people have some phobia of Google phobia, I would say, is because everyone wants more and more citations, more and more papers, and they requested to their fellows, please add my name. And if we see in a co-author list, there's so many 10, 12 authors. And what's the contribution? How much percentage they added? Just read it and just rephrase it. Is a scientific contribution? I don't think so. Language improvement is a scientific contribution. Either if you can do some experiment, you can add some real science and results, then I would say yes, it's a contribution. Or whenever your profile, I think, optimized or analyzed by some PI for some job, they don't consider your co-author paper. Your first author paper is your representative. So focus on your research. Don't need to publish too many papers, but whatever you publish, that should be your identity. क्योंकि एक दफा आपके नाम से जब फर्स्ट ऑथर पेपर आ जाता है तो वो आपकी एक आइडेंटिटी आपकी पूरी लाइफ में होता है कि यू डिड दिस प्रोजेक्ट एंड यू फाउंड दैट पर्टिकुलर रिजल्ट्स दैट आर मोर वैल्यूएबल आइदर द स्मॉल क्वांटिटी. सो मतलब कोई भी रिसर्चर है वो पूरी साइंस कवर नहीं कर पाता, बट whatever we add in that field, in a particular field, that should be more important and more valuable rather than just paper publish. इतनी हरी और इतनी क्वांटिटी में पेपर अगर आप पब्लिश करेंगे तो मेरे ख्याल में आपकी रिसर्च की कोई वैल्यू नहीं होगी. यू विल जस्ट हैव अ नंबर ऑफ डॉक्यूमेंट्स और अ फ्यू साइटेशंस. तो मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि आने वाले टाइम में जो गूगल है इसकी कोई वैल्यू नहीं होगी. क्योंकि आप देखें इंडस्ट्री में जो लोग काम करते हैं उनकी रिसर्च मोर वैल्यूएबल टुवर्ड्स द पर्टिकुलर एप्लीकेशन or real world applications that after 2 or 3 years that in our hand, like we can see lithium and battery, or particularly new energy devices, fuel cell. Now it's running a fuel cell car. And when I started in 2013, that research was not quite new, but new, just 4 or 5 years. So you can see from 2013 to now, that's on the road. Because there is a different Toyota Mirai, it's a very famous fuel cell car. So my point is, do a valuable work rather than running towards to publish more paper. Students often ask me that how much paper is important, particularly master's students.
Yeah.
So for MS student, I would say, improve your basic concept, what you learned and what you wrote in your thesis. Even you can write your thesis on literature review on a particular topic. Your concept should be clear and directional. That's really important. So, Dr. Agas, I would like.
I would. No, it's a good point. So, funny story. I have, like I said, I do it. I mean, I do talk every day. SOPs, CVs, email, chat, whatnot. One time, this one student, I'm not gonna say where, but this particular person says, I have 45 or 52 publication in PhD, and I want to know if I broke the Guinness Book of World Record or whatever, right? So can you imagine? Let's say this person did PhD in 6 years. In 6 years, how many months we have? Okay, 60. In 60, that means he wrote one paper every month, which means he had no time to do research. All he was just doing typing papers. Okay, can you believe? I mean, how can you publish 45? Now, I'm sure he was not the first author on every one of them, which is fine, but it's just like a number game. And I work in a hospital before, so I'm still working in a hospital, and that was a children's hospital for cancer. And then we had 2 recruiters looking for postdoc all the time. We had 350 postdoc in one hospital. 350 postdoc in one hospital. Can you imagine? Every day one leaves, you have to hire one every day. So you need to have 2 recruiters just to keep. And she asked me that I go to conferences, and she was a PhD herself too. So one day I asked her, can I, so I do an MRI. So I had her as a volunteer. So I scanned her, I showed some images, And then while talking to her, I got to know her. And then she says, yeah, give me some CVs from Pakistan. I'll review, and maybe there are some postdoc position. So I, believe it or not, I met this postdoc Facebook several years ago, like any other, it was a disaster anyway. And then I got this 15, 20 CVs. And every single one of them, when I reviewed, I was like, an intermediate student can make a better CV than this. By the way, I have a video on a YouTube on how to make a CV for postdoc separate. The whole video on how to apply for a postdoc, and it was several years ago. And even then, and had this session with them, the CV, when the CV came, and I forwarded to her. She was so nice enough. She printed out. She gave me comments, and one of the comment was, which I kind of agree with her, and I always agreed. But it's a culture. Never put a photo on a CV. You know why? Because you're gonna take a selfie. A friend is taking your picture in a background with bunch of flower. No, this is not a professional photo in the first place. So do not put any. And then, if a grumpy face and you take a photo like, oh my God, you're angry. And she wrote grumpy face picture, this and that. Why? She was just being honest that, look, these things kill you, because I did not even read the papers. I just read this, and this is what I feel. And in one of the case she wrote, she says, I asked, this person has 10 publications, and all of them are some journal of Africa or journal of this and that. She's like, this is useless, okay? And yes, it is useless. One paper, please. If you are a PhD, so every university has basically criteria. So my university, Wayne State had a criteria. You should have one paper as a first author. That's it. By the way, even if it's not published, my paper was not published when I got my postdoc, but that it's going to get published based on your supervisor says, yes, it will get published. It's a novel work. And that's all. By the way, I am from so my background is biomedical engineering. My area of expertise is medical imaging. Within medical imaging, MRI is my expertise, MR physics, you can say. So our journals are, what is the highest factor? Maybe 6, that's it. We are hardly 6,000 people in the whole world like physicists, okay, the MRI physicists. So it's not like, basic science where is a cutthroat competition. By the way, everybody in the basic science, I feel for you, because you have very much competition because of the way you guys do your research is completely different than the way we do. Our is for my research, I need images from human being, which means I need volunteers. Unlike some of the basic science where you just take some material and you make your own specimen, right? That's why you have a very, very harsh competition. By the way, there's a lot of politics, a lot of things in research. You should learn how to deal with politics. If you do not know, please learn it. You cannot be bystander. Don't say, oh, main party nahi hu is chakkar mein. You cannot stay away from it. Mark my words. Keep it somewhere. You have to learn how to deal with research, with the politics. Research will teach you if you don't try to learn. That was just a comment, so keep that in mind. But anyway, going back to my, where I was trying to give you guys that it's a point where you have to decide that. By the way, I completely forgot where I was when I started. But my point was that people, when they submit their CV, when they try to show them, everybody, like, see, I do not know any one of them. Hasina is the only one that I have been in touch with. That's it. But everybody's point I wrote down have the same point. If you watch my video from 5 years ago for a postdoc, same points. CV is, you have to have a nice, by the way, making a CV for postdoc it doesn't have to be very cosmetics. Like koi acha khoobsurat hona chahiye. PhD 1 line, master's 1 line, undergrad 1 line. That's it. Research projects, and right after research project, your publications. If you don't have too many, if you have like 20, 30, then toward the end, anyone who is going to be reviewing your CV, they're not going to go to the first page. They're going to go straight to the publication, because they don't care about what have you done before the publication, but it should be nicely done, by the way, okay? If you don't have too many publications, then yes, write it 3 degrees, no high school, no secondary school. Even for I'm not in favor of putting those. So no photo. Okay, remember, no photos, no personal information, and then your projects and publication. One publication is enough to get you a postdoc in USA. Most of them you can see either coming from Pakistan and China. By the way, in America, as many postdocs I know, most of them are girls. There is, and none of them are here, by the way. So I may let them know. Maybe you guys can get them involved next time. But they came from China or from Pakistan, and it's amazing that how they came. Right, same stories: struggle, consistency, and making sure. And eventually, see what happened is either we teach you as a mentor how to polish your skills and your CV, or you learn with your experience. So Shumaila's experience is, of course, like over the 2 years, and she learned. Same with Qudsia, the way she explained it, or Komal, they all explained how things fell for them. And this is exactly how it works, okay? One thing that I would, again, these are so many points I have in my brain that I just keep popping up. Undergrad degree does not make you a scientist. Undergrad degree is just to give you a wide open field of biology, chemistry, and whatnot. You should not have a publication after undergrad. If you do, you have no clue what you did. Okay, you are on a paper, but आपको कुछ नहीं मालूम कि हुआ क्या है. बस आपका नाम paper पे आ गया. If somebody asks you a question, you will not be able to answer. No, there are some geniuses. I know they were in undergrad. They had degrees. They had papers, and they knew what they did. Okay, but after masters, I expect that you should have some research experiences. But as a first author paper, still it's a challenge. After MPhil, you can understand. Never write a research proposal, even as a postdoc. Please don't do that. Okay, nobody asks you for a proposal in the USA. Elsewhere they do, but it's just a filter. For instance, I think it was I forgot who was it was probably Shumaila or somebody said that they were asked to present, and that's fine. Sometimes they do it just because they don't have funding, so they just want to see, hey, if the person has a good idea, maybe we can add a grant. So keep those things in mind that all you need is everybody. If I go back from Asma till to Shumaila, that everybody says CV, good CV and good communication skills. These are the two things. And the third one is you should know what you want. Okay, and for that, what do? You read about the professor you are contacting, and please do your homework. If you do your homework and give them the answer, which give them the hint that you read about them either on LinkedIn or on their profile, it's a good thing. That means you are a serious student. That's why you did all this homework before you sat down in front of them, okay? And then you give them the presentation. And then quickly going some of the point, LinkedIn, yes. If I'm interviewing you, any of you, is it, Qudsia or Shumaila or Komal, the first thing I will do is I will go on, take your email and Google it. The first thing will come what? Either Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, and I will read about you. And this is what I did when I got this email. The first thing I did, who's speaking, and I went on your profile, the link was there, and I read about you, who's who. This is what you do, okay? And they should know that you search them, because you want them to show them that you are serious. The last thing is keep your LinkedIn clean, please. Your picture should be professionally taken, okay? No selfies or a friend taken, and please, it's not a Facebook. If there is a friend who posts about food and cars and this, delete them, block them. I do the same thing. If somebody, by the way, I get requests from students. I don't want students to be on my LinkedIn, but sometimes I accept them and I watch them. Sometimes if they post stuff like, something about some hadith, and this is not a social media. You delete them, because LinkedIn is a professional platform where people search you. You should have a professional people on there who have something nice to say about you, or zip their mouth. They don't their lips. They should not say anything about you if they have nothing good. So keep that in mind. Spend good time on that. So CV, LinkedIn, communication skills, please learn. See, I learned, of course, over the period of time. Everybody have learned it, but if you have the opportunity to learn it, communication skills are the best thing that you could ever have. Other skills they will teach you. They will train you. Okay. 2 to 3 months they train you, and then you become an expert in the next 1 year, but they cannot change your personality, and that's where you have to work on it. So with that, I will stop so we can take some questions, and then we'll go from there.
Dr. Munasa wrote something in chat box. Dr. Ayaz, if possible, please read.
Let's see. Okay. Number of publication is important on the impact of your publication of getting post. No, the number of publication is not one publication is enough. And if any other participant have any other comment, please do so. How much do they pay for postdoc in USA? Oh, I think I answered most of this question.
She wrote,
it's toward the end. Yes, yes. I think it's toward the end. Let me go there. Yes. Okay. I have watched you have mentioned you should be creative with your CV. Some people say it should be ATS friend. I don't know what that is, by the way. So see, again, I am the online Europass. I don't like them. I just open a Word file and I created one from there. For a postdoc, keep it simple. Please, no color scheme, no logos and stuff. Don't do that. No photo. Your name, see, this is how I would make a CV, especially these days, to protect your personal information and your identity, your name, city and country name, and email address. That's it, not even phone number. If they want to talk to you, they will ask you your email, your phone number. They just need to know you're from Pakistan, that's all. Or China, or wherever you are, that's it. 3 things, name, city, country, and email address. And then a very simple, your education comes on top. Don't write person statements. Those person statements are boring. You're already sending them email or writing a cover letter. Just your education, and then very basic stuff, and then your research, and then go your skills or your publications. Here, even if you don't write about volunteer work, all that, that's fine. By the way, I did say that, and I will reiterate, like Asma, I think she was the one who said, you know, they don't want robot in their lab. Definitely they don't want, they want people, human beings. There was one time there was the area that I work, so conferences generally have a section for postdoc, and where they put the positions. One person literally wrote, I want a person who is honest, who is who does communication, he doesn't lie, he doesn't do this. Meaning, he says, I don't want a top researcher. I want a person who have personality, who have some ethics. Okay, it's very important to have those. So that is something you have to show. What should be the master's research trying to get a PhD? See, again, this is not for PhD, but I will give you, you don't have to have a PhD. In America, you do not have to have a publication to apply for PhD, and PhDs, all PhDs are funded, and all you do is fulfill the admission requirement. You do not have to go above and beyond if you don't have any. Okay, can you start, can we start our CV education direct from publication and move? Yeah, you can put publication, that's fine. I mean, again, in CV, for postdoc, as long as you have good publications, layout, you can go up and down, but generally, I would say just follow education, research project, and then publication. Okay,
here I would like to add for CV point of view, because particularly for industry approach. So just 1-page CV is enough, because industry people have not temperament like academic people. They don't have time to read. So
believe me, nobody has. Only, you know how much time they spend on your CV, no matter where you send, 5 seconds. Right. You will be lucky if you get 5 seconds, otherwise 3 seconds. This is how it goes. They take the CV and they decide trash or table.
Excuse me.
It should be attractive enough on the first page, attractive enough so they keep it on the table, not on the trash. Okay. Yes. And by the way, one thing that I did wrote when Asma was speaking, and I forgot to say it. In America, 80%, 80% jobs are filled through references. They don't even get to published online or anywhere. Why? Because it is such a cumbersome or time-consuming process to hire people. Now, in postdoc, people spend time because they want postdocs are usually for 2 years, 3 years, so they want But believe me, it is such a long process. And you heard from Shumaila how long it took her, that people don't want to waste, I should not say waste time, but if we are hiring one person, scientist, can you believe I will be interviewing a radiologist, another radiologist, body radiologist, neuroradiologist, administrative. If you collectively see the time, we spend 40 hours. Okay, 40 to 50 hour multiply by $100. I'm just giving you the average salary. Of course, the doctor, the radiologist, they make hundreds of dollars per hour. So if you do, that means you spend $8,000 to $10,000 just to interview one person. If you interview two, 20,000. If you interview three, 30,000. $30,000 just to interview and hire a person, plus the time, plus the money, plus the resources. They may say yes or no. So that's why references are the best to get jobs, and you should have a very strong networking on a LinkedIn if possible, and you will get a job. If, let's say, if tomorrow a position opens in my lab, and if I know any one of you, they work in that area, I would say, you know, I know such and such. They would say, okay, bring her in. And that reference will work. I got this, I have a job right now, which I switched like 6 months ago. I had two such a strong references. All they did, they called them directly. They said, look, if we hire Ayaz, what do you think? And the next day they send me basically they asked me, how much money do you want? They didn't even offer me. They says, whatever money you want. Because this is how it works. If you have a strong references, they will ask you what you want, and then you can demand whatever you want, by the way. So sorry to interrupt, Sina, I just want to give you that one quick pointer. Dear friends of our uni, okay. All right. Oh my God. I think I'm trying to catch up with all these, but if you guys read any of these comments where you can answer, please go ahead and do it. Mostly about the CV, but
yes,
like
you have done. Thank you so much. Yeah. And yes, one thing I want to mention, yesterday night, Komal and I were, she also, I think, gave me the information about H-1B lottery. So H-1B visa mostly offered by the industries, and now is open for Pakistanis as well. And I would like, don't go for postdoc. If you're a fresh graduate, approach the industry as well, and they offer a best visa, H-1B. And that's more close to settle down in USA rather than J-1 visa. J-1 visa also have some process to switch.
I have a different opinion about that. so let me put this way. If you are in a hospital or non-profit organization, I did not know that, but in my video, I did probably answer this question. Always demand for H1. No matter what, they try to play game this with you guys, unfortunately, that the immigration office in this organization, they do it. I wish I knew. I would literally tell them point blank, no, I don't want J1. And talk to your advisor. I want H1, because with J1, you will never be able to apply for even grants. H1 maybe. So the problem is, if you have a H1, you cannot apply for grants. If you're a green card holder, you are then subjected to apply for many grants. And of course, a citizen, you can pretty much apply for everything. As a H1, there is some grants. So your reason to get H1 would be, which is a work visa, and then you can apply for immigration. And by the way, I have a YouTube video where I have taught how to apply for a green card on your own without your organization, without a single penny out of your pocket. Well, the only thing is the fees. Do not go to lawyers. The whole video is there. I did it by myself, and I got my green card like in a few months. And I have shown so many people. People go to lawyers, you can, but I would say you don't need to. For H1, so the H1 issue thing is, it's hospitals and non-profit organization. There is no quota. They can literally apply today and they can get an H1 next week. 50,000 or 60,000 H1 visa that is only for highly qualified people, and that is the one you're referring to. There is a quota. You cannot apply anytime. It has to be applied in March, April, or February, and it is kicked in October and November. So I would suggest, if you are in a hospital or an institution or nonprofit, go for nonprofit people and then apply for H1. There is no quota there. You can apply hundreds and millions of them every year, no problem. And I have always been on that H1, so I never
Actually,
had
Dr. Ayaz, mostly professor prefer J1 because J1 fee is lower than H1B, I
because
guess.
they do not know. Because see, again, the problem is that generally the American, if they are immigrant, they would know. But if they are local, they would have no clue what is the difference between J1 and H1. You can tell them, I would pay that extra fee if you hire me. Literally, pay that $1,500 from your pocket. It's worth it. Okay. So what happened is the immigration office tell them, hey, give them J1. It's ये जो शैतानी है ना ये immigration office की. I mean, I know this whole tactics. Yeah, they do it on purpose because they don't want you to stay. Number one, and it's cheaper and it's easier. But it destroys your. मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ था. I got my H1 while I was a student, by the way. I said, look, I'm not taking any other visa. I'm going to take H1. Otherwise, I'm not. So my professor, he listened to me at the immigration. I was like, no, it's going to be a problem. But he listened to me. I was back then in Detroit, Wayne State. And he said, sure, what do you want me to do? I'm like, this is how I want it. And he did it. I went to the lawyer and lawyer says, yes, we can do it. So be firm, do your due diligence. Do not ask for, if they give you J1, ask for H1. And you can ask. Just because you're asking for H1, they will not reject your application or fire you. They will never do that. And you can explain to them the reason I'm lean toward H1 is it's an immigrant visa, and I can easily apply for grants and eventually become a citizen and have much more grant application. And this is exactly what I did. And they were convinced because it was a legitimate reason to apply for it. So it's not your advisor. Is the immigration office. So your job is to convince your advisor. The advisor will convince their administration, and administration will convince the immigration office. Simple as that, okay? But please do not settle below H1. And if any of you have problem, send me an email and I can help you write an email to convince them. There is no way they can stop you from there.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, it's a brilliant advice. So,
by the way, J1 also can be, there might be some extra step, but you could do from there too. But I would suggest that
but still I mostly recommend the new, because when I came here I didn't know anything about visa category, and I never asked. What they told me, I just followed. But when I came here and I found a different information that H1B is more important if we want to move to immigration. Right. So for that, then I thought, no, I should teach the next people what I faced. Exactly. And I found, I went through the process. The new people should not do it like that.
Exactly. And so by the way, National Interest Waiver, NIW, is the category to get a green card. But I would even seek into NI, which is EB2. So there are 3 categories. If you know, EB3 is the slowest. It will take like years to get, and it's a long process. EB2 is specialized. NIW is a national interest waiver, where as a PhD or highly qualified person, you can write a petition, and with that's where you have to show your publication, your strong references. It's like writing a thesis. It takes a lot of time, good 100 hours to prepare it, so good few months. And if you submit it, you will get, by any means, I have never seen anybody getting rejected. Even people are applying from Pakistan right now. I mean, I have been telling people before, but even the master's student people are, because every day I get requests from friends, hey, can you write a reference letter for me for a green card? So that is a good category. You do not need support from your employee. You do not need to have a job. You can switch the job. These are the benefit of these special category. Now, this is one, but if you want, you can apply for both EB2 and EB1, and you can watch these, read about this. EB1 will be like within a week. If you're very highly skilled and something we have published in Nature, EB1, within a week you will have a green card. That's how quick it is. But if you feel like, well, no rush, EB2 NIW is the way to go. Apply on your own. Believe me, it's very straightforward. I have a video on it on YouTube. You can watch that, or you can
no problem, Dr. Ayaz. It's really interesting topic and can help our STM researcher. I would like to organize your session maybe next few months.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's really a good topic. I think most of the STM researchers are unemployed, and they can. I think it's not, fee is not too high, or 700 something. I'm not
No,
sure.
it's the whole it's like $500 plus then you do some medical. So I remember when I did, I was married back then when I started. So my from start till the end of I getting citizenship, when I did a math, it was of course after getting green card at 5-6 years you have to wait. I spent literally $3,000 for me, for my wife, for the entire process, including the mailing and whatnot. Like this is how I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's worth spending that $3,000 over the course of like 10 years. So but petition is very $500 or so, maybe $600 now. But it's worth doing it because it gives you the flexibility to apply for grants. I could not apply for a grant. I had to apply for a green card, and people told me when I was a student, apply in IW. I'm like, chodo ho jayega, Pakistan jana hai. You know that Hubbal Watani was there back then. Oh, no, green card nahi lena. But then when I realized that how much beneficial it has, I could have done it while I was in my first postdoc. But then I did on my second postdoc because I could not get any grants. I was not eligible to apply for grants, and it's basically it hurts your career. So get it just because you're applying for a grant. See, for any scientist or postdoc, if you don't have a grant, you don't have a job. Okay, unless you're a staff scientist, you should know that. I mean, they will support you for a time, but if you don't bring money, you're out. So you have it's a competitive world out there.
I guess it's a grant and more funding is the issue.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to thank you, our guest. And if
I have some questions. Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Tabassum.
Sure, please.
Actually, I really found this session very useful, and I am a bit afraid after Dr. Shumaila's experience because my interview is supposed to be on August 21st by the end of this month, next month. So I got a postdoc opportunity in Northeastern University, Boston, and I'm very scared that because she said that she was not familiar and she undergo administrative process for 5 months. So I need some suggestion from you, Dr. Ayaz, that what I need to, because I need to polish my CV as I have already submitted my previous CV, which is not, which needs some improvement as per your suggestion, which you just obviously gave us. I am from the startup process since that's last 4 months. I am disturbing Dr. Tabassum, but she started her postdoc in 2020, I guess. So you are more familiar with as the latest process. So could you please give some suggestion that what I need to do for the preparation of my interview or something like which could help me to get my visa as soon as possible?
So it's for visa interview, correct?
Yeah.
So see, very simple. No long answers. The question, listen to the question. If they ask you, what do you plan to do after you finish your postdoc? You could say, I would like to, further get experience. Don't say, oh, I'm going to come to Pakistan, because this is not what they asked. So that is overemphasis. Do not overemphasize. Don't try to tell them I'm going to come back to Pakistan, because people will give you, oh, you have a strong, Pakistan, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Just keep it simple. They ask you, what are you going there for? For a postdoc. That's it. Don't tell them which lab, what professor, what project. They did not ask you that. And if they ask you how much how are you going to fund, you say, well, this is what I'm getting. You would have that offer letter. Simple,
letter, yes.
Yeah, very simple. Do not misinform them. If you have a blood relative, tell them you have blood relative, because they have access to Nadra. Okay. Do not give them long answers, and do not overemphasize. 3 don'ts. That's it. If you don't do those 3 don'ts, you should be fine. Visa interview is the easiest, but I know it's the most stressful one, because you listen too much, you hear so much, and people who have never been to embassy, they will give you so many suggestions. They will freak you out. When I came to USA, I literally had a visa rejection from Germany. It was right after 9/11. So Germany rejected the visa because they said, oh, things are not, it was in October. Can you imagine, like September, it happened in October. I was in an embassy. They're like, no, we cannot give you with the whole situation. And I had an admission in Denmark. I did not apply the visa there. So when I went for my interview in April 2022, 5-6 months after the whole, when embassy opened, people told me, passport kho do. Tell them you don't have a passport. Naya banao, tumhari rejection hai. Meaning manipulate, lie, deceive, deception. Look, this is unethical, against your religion, against your belief as a human. It is wrong. Why would you do something? Okay, I'm like, look, this is my passport. This is what I'm going to apply. I applied, and believe me, I got my passport was literally a few months old. No experience, no travel history, no nothing. And the lady asked me, why you have a rejection from Germany? I'm like, well, this is what I was told. She's like, yeah, that makes sense. The country where it happened gave me the visa, and the country which basically, had nothing to do with it, they rejected it. And so please do not manipulate, do not listen to people. Keep it very simple. If you have no history, that's fine. I never flew in airplane before that in my life, okay, and I had no nothing, I had no experience of going anywhere. I was a 23-year-old, right after undergrad, I came to US in 2002, when you are already in primary school. Can you imagine? I mean, people gave me so many different stories because of 9/11. Okay, don't listen to those people. The things are very simple. You are coming for a legitimate, training, and you have all the experiences and everything. They will not ask you a technical question. They do just to see this. होता क्या इंटरव्यू में quickly question वो क्यों पूछते हैं कि आप स्टटर तो नहीं कर रहे, आप स्टॉप तो नहीं हो रहे, सवाल आपसे पूछेंगे, अच्छा क्या करने जा रही हैं, पोस्ट डॉक किस में करने जा रही हैं, इसके अंदर वहां क्या पढ़ेंगे, इससे पहले आपने क्या किया. Because the more they see if you are, अगर आप वाकई नहीं है जो आप कहती हैं आप हैं, तो आपको समझ में नहीं आएगा, आप तो स्टॉप हो जाएंगी. But if you have done it, मतलब फौरन आप जवाब देंगी. ठीक है. So they sometimes play mind games with you just to see if you are the same person, and yes you are. Okay. Females generally get rejected by one means, और वो ये होता है कि if you are single and you are coming for a visit visa, okay, तो अच्छा ये they are going there to get married and all that. This is not the case in these places. You are coming for admission, either postdoc, PhD, or something, and you have a solid document that you are going there to spend some time, and you will be getting paid for it. Okay, so keep that in mind, and you should be fine. Just do not overemphasize. No long answers, and please, आपके पास चीजें सिस्टमैटिक होनी चाहिए. वो आपसे पूछना मुझे ये दें, तो आप फाइल में से निकाल के फोल्डर ये दें कि आप ढूंढ रही हो कि चीजें क्या है. That I find it very annoying. So make sure that does not happen. By the way, one comment that I really want to make, I know there are many folks left here, but the most easiest way to come to USA and get international experience is a postdoc. आपको पैसे मिलते हैं, कोई इंग्लिश की टेस्ट की जरूरत नहीं है, GRE की जरूरत नहीं है, and there are plenty of them. I was at a conference last year in June, last month. ये MRI से related है, so it's a very small, 5-6 हज़ार लोग आते हैं. It's not like the huge 20-30 हज़ार लोगों वाली. And believe me, the whole room wall is full of jobs. Like ये जो आप दीवार देख रही हैं, इसको 3 गुना कर लें. All is filled with postdoc. इतनी jobs हैं postdoc, इतनी positions हैं कि sometimes when they don't find people with the background they want, they will go to basic science, because they don't have people to fill in. Okay, that many postdoc, and email is the best way to land a postdoc. जब मुझे अपनी ग्रांट मिली, जब मैं postdoc था, मुझे आज ग्रांट मिली, तो जब आपको ग्रांट आती है, आपको तनख्वाह नहीं मिलती है, आपकी तनख्वाह आपकी ग्रांट से ही आती है. आपको ये मालूम होना चाहिए. It's not an added. So अगर आपको $50,000 मिल रहे हैं और आपका प्रोफेसर आपको दे रहा है $50,000 a year your salary, the moment you get a grant, you get the same money from your salary. Basically, you are salaried on your own, so you are your boss. आपको कोई फायर नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है. Now उसके पास $50,000 बच रहे थे. Within a week, एक लड़के ने ईमेल की उसको कि मैं ग्रेजुएट होने वाला हूँ, and guess what, he hired him. ठीक है. So मुझे पोस्ट डॉक मिली और ग्रांट मिली, उसको पोस्ट डॉक मिली. Within a week had happened. So please email professors, no problem, but do not copy paste email. Write a nice email to connect with the professors, to ask them. And if you read all 4 or 5 of the participants, this is exactly what they did. They applied or they emailed, and the communication started. एक बार आपकी correspondence शुरू हो गई, the wind from small window is a big door now. When the door is open, you have a huge horizon of opportunities and whatnot. So email is the communication start. CV is your window to your personality, and after that it's up to you, and you will definitely learn something. Sorry, I know I like to talk too much, so I probably took more time than the rest of the participants.
Thank you.
No, thank you so much. It really helped me. Thank you very much, Dr. Sir.
थैंक यू सो मच. मैं हमेशा मतलब वीज़ा से रिलेटेड ये बात करती हूँ कि चाइनीज कल्चर में मैंने एक बात पूछा है, जितना पूछा जाए उतना जवाब दो. अगर हम उससे थोड़ा इधर उधर होने लग जाते हैं तो वो मतलब वो समझता है शायद ये मुझे डिट्रैक्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स मांगा जाए वो दो, और जो आपसे सवाल पूछा जाए उसका जवाब दो. एडिशनल कोई बात ना करो. लेकिन ये बात वो जरूर पूछते हैं कि आफ्टर पोस्ट डॉक आप क्या करोगे. तो आपका ये जवाब होना चाहिए कि मैंने वापस आके, अगर आपका J1 मतलब आप इमिग्रेशन नॉन इमिग्रेंट वीजे के लिए अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, तो डेफिनेटली आपको यही रिप्लाई करना चाहिए कि आप वापस आके अपना करियर पाकिस्तान में स्टार्ट करेंगे. आपकी फैमिली है और आपने आना है.
नहीं, see that's where I disagree. ठीक है, उन्होंने ये नहीं पूछा आप क्या करेंगी या वापस आएंगी. अगर वो ये पूछते ना what would you do, say I would join academia, I would join industry.
That's a good answer.
But you're not saying where. उनको ये ना बोले कहाँ, बोले I would join the industry. That's it. अगर वो पूछे कहाँ पर, बोलना wherever I get opportunity. देखिए एक बात तो इसका कोई रीजन बताऊं, इसका कोई रीजन था. अमेरिका में हर साल millions of लोग इमिग्रेंट्स आते हैं हर साल. ठीक है, उनको भी मालूम है जो अमेरिका जाता है वापस नहीं आता. सो इसका जोक ये है कि पाकिस्तान में इतने डॉक्टर नहीं है पाकिस्तानी जितना अमेरिका में पाकिस्तानी डॉक्टर हैं. आपको पता है हर बड़ी डॉक्टर पैसा बहुत बनाते हैं. देयर आर वेरी स्ट्रांग लॉबी इन अमेरिका. हजारों अपना के नाम से ऑल पाकिस्तान फिजिशियन समथिंग अपना के नाम से उनका वो है. एंड देयर वेरी स्ट्रांग लॉबी ऑफ पाकिस्तान एंड दे आर वेरी रिच. ओके, सो एक बार जोक ये है कि एक भाई साहब गए तो उन्होंने इंटरव्यू देना था एज अ फिजिशियन. तो उन्होंने पूछा कि would you come back after you finish your residency? Yeah, I'm going to come back and work for my country. कहती you see this अपना, उसने वो लिस्ट वो दिखाया. कहता 5000 पाकिस्तानी डॉक्टर ये बोल के गए थे कि वापस आएंगे, आज तक नहीं आए. ठीक है, तो आप ये बोले ही नहीं, क्योंकि देखिए यहीं पर आप जब बोलते हैं ना तो you are trying to convince them, and they're not asking this question. The question is what would you do once you finish? They say I would join academia, I would join industry. आपने ये नहीं बोला कहाँ, पॉलिटिकल जवाब दे उनको, समझे? उससे क्या होगा उनको पता नहीं है. हाँ, अगर उन्होंने पूछा कि do you plan to come back to Pakistan, बोलते हैं eventually there is a plan. That's it. Eventually कब होगा? 50 साल बाद होगा जब मैं रिटायर हो जाऊंगी, या eventually means right after. And this is allowed. There is nothing wrong with that. This is my personal opinion. Yeah.
And how if they say that after 1 year you would come back to Pakistan or not?
No, if they ask you that, what would you after if उन्होंने point blank जवाब पूछा ना कि after will you come back? बोला yes.
नहीं हो रहा है. J1 वीजे में पूछा जाता है कि आपने पाकिस्तान वापस आना है.
नहीं, अगर वो पूछते हैं ना point blank कि after 1 साल आप वापस आएंगे, बोलेंगे हाँ, सिर्फ हाँ कर दें.
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट 1 पोस्ट डॉक में ना पहला कॉन्ट्रैक्ट ही 1 ईयर का होता है. इसलिए मुझे लगता है ये कॉमन क्वेश्चन है, पूछा जाता है कि पाकिस्तान वापस आना है.
नहीं, आप देखिए अब again like I said, the people who are taking your interview, they're human being too. They know too. 1 year postdoc is not enough. 1 साल में तो आपने वो ये लोग मजाक में कहते हैं कि your computer is hot enough, like warm enough now. यानी कंप्यूटर स्टार्ट हो गया है and now it's working. So 1 साल में तो आप settle down होंगे, मुश्किल से कोई काम शुरू होगा. ठीक है. So if they ask you, if somebody asks me after 1 year, मतलब 1 year postdoc is not enough. मैं ये जवाब दे सकता हूँ depending on how they ask the question. But if they ask you point blank, would you after 1 year would you be coming back to Pakistan? आप जवाब दिए yes. आप 1 साल बाद पाकिस्तान आएंगे 1 महीने के लिए just to see the family. आप ज़हन में रखिएगा. You can always have different. You know what I mean? Yes. 1 साल बाद पाकिस्तान आना अच्छी बात होती है because you need to refresh your brain and your just to get fresh. Yeah, so बोलेगा yes, I will come back to Pakistan. और दिल में सोचेगा 1 महीने के लिए, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. That should be fine.
I can add one thing. If they ask if you come back after 1 year,
because मैं मेंशन करना चाहूंगी कोमल का जो वीजा है वो मेरे ख्याल में 1-2 दिन में लगा है.
Yeah, only in 1 day. Thursday I go for the visa interview, and next Friday 10 o'clock I got my visa at home.
I don't know.
You are lucky. You are lucky.
They just asked me 3 questions. Why you are going for what you are going for? I say I just say one word for postdoc. Just be precise. Don't explain
Exactly.
so much. Just be precise. Simply to the
Exactly.
How
point.
about the rest
If
of
you
two questions
if you
they
tell
asked
them a
for me?
story for postdoc, flana university and this and that, then they will be annoyed. Don't annoy them. They will not annoy you. Just to the point. They just ask me 3 questions, and then I just give them one question, and then they take my passport, and next day I cut my visa.
Yep.
How about the rest of two questions they asked from you?
One question they ask me for what you are going, I just say them for postdoc. Next question is that what will be your research project? I just explain my research project will be on Parkinson and Alzheimer related to neurodegeneration. Simple. Third, how many countries you visit? It is already on my passport that I visit China and Saudi, but they ask me and I just say China and Saudi. 3 questions they ask.
Likewise.
Just 3
Yes,
questions.
likewise. Mm.
And it
Thank
also
you. Thank
depends
you.
on the luck. It also depends on luck.
Yeah, simple answer. I mean,
Yes. Be
yeah.
precise. Don't give them so many explanation, because they have to interview a lot of people. They don't
Exactly.
care for their stories.
Can you imagine if you interview 400 people, 300 people every day, and
Yes.
everybody give you so much? Most of the time, what happen is, if their coffee is not good, they have a bad mood. So if you give them a good reason to reject you, that'll be one of the reasons. The moment you start giving them long answers, and they'll be like, oh, you know what, another storyteller, and they might reject you. Just keep it simple. Like, they ask 3 questions. She's like, where are you going for postdoc? That's it. Where? What for? Nothing.
Yes.
So.
Dr. Sam, last question. Actually, Dr. Tabassum suggested me that I should have my CV and my professor's CV at the time of interview, right? So when I emailed my professor in US, he accepted me on the basis of the previous CV. I want to polish it, and it is okay that I would provide them the latest version.
No, I mean, see, this is a new phenomena. They asked for CV. Recently, two of the girls who coming for one for master, one for PhD, they were asked. And one of them is freaking out because they don't know who's their potential advisor, which is, of course, a concern. But as long as you have a CV, see, these things are just for record keeping. ठीक है? आपको admission मिल गया है, आपको postdoc position मिल गई है, that is not their responsibility, which means the visa officer, this is a responsibility of the university. But they just need this paperwork. Let's say, so let me give an example. Something happens to an applicant, and all of a sudden I say, oh, the person is missing. Now, so they're going to track you back. How they're going to track back? They're going to say, oh, we have on the, what document do you have on the visa interview? They get out all these things, they contact the university and then contact that particular professor, says, look, this person gave us your CV. Where is she or where is he? Okay? So this is just for them to make their life easy beforehand, nothing else. None of these visa officers even know any science. They are not from science, okay? Believe me, they're not PhDs. They would never understand any of these things. They just have a mind game where they assist you based on their training, either you are legitimate or not. And most of the people, and by the way, log karte hain, believe me or not, log manipulate karte hain immigration ke liye. That's why there's a big lash जो हुआ भी हुआ था ना ट्रम्प के ज़माने में कि people use आपको, you will find out eventually कि लोग झूठ मक्कारी करके आते हैं, and they have to stop that. So उसके अंदर कभी के student भी रगड़े जाते हैं, and होते क्या कि when you don't give them the good answers, you get that basically the X thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Komal, Dr. Qudsia, and Dr. Shumaila and Dr. Asma left. And Dr. Ayaz, thank you so much for your valuable time. And I would like to invite you for our next session, or we have STM Cafe on different topic, and hope you will like it and participate. And I am really interested particularly in immigration topic, and that's really useful for our STM researcher, particularly women in STM. And you know that in USA, women in in STM are more preferable, and I really like कि जितनी भी ज़्यादा वुमेन को फैसिलिटेट किया जाए वो अपना करियर बनाने में, क्योंकि एक वुमेन यहाँ मैं खुद मतलब हूँ तो मेरी फैमिली स्पाउस मेरा मतलब मेरे ही उस पे है, तो इट डजंट मैटर कि आप मैन है या वुमेन है, तो उसके लिए कोई इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता, आप एक फैमिली को जो है सपोर्ट कर रहे होते हो डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली. So मेरे ख्याल में हम अपनी society को जो है empower कर सकते हैं in term of if we will empower women.
And especially when you come out a postdoc, most probably होता है कि either you are married or getting married, you know, age का वो आ जाता है ना कि you are at that stage of the life. In general बात हो रही है. So then applying for this immigration is even more important. Because once you get a green card, your spouse can easily do jobs, any job.
Exactly.
Right now, they are, if they are on dependent visa, that's a problem. If they are on a work visa, there's a problem, and they can only certainly do. But if you once you get the green card, then they can do pretty much a business. They can open their shop. They can open, you know, what not, right? So आपको ये इसलिए जरूरी होता है कि अगर आप करें ना, तो आप ये reasons भी उनको दे सकते हैं कि look, I need this because my spouse will come and I cannot have them live on a H1 or F1, F2 or H2. I want them to have an immigrant so they can do, they can basically help me financially. And उस पे पर मना नहीं कर सकते. आप देख रहे हैं कि there are so many reasons you can give them. ठीक है? So we will definitely cover that in the next session.
Yeah, इसके लिए immigration का हम एक मतलब कैसे green card के लिए apply करते हैं, different type of visa that would be helpful for our audience. Sure. Particularly STM audience and IWISTER Pakistan is getting attention of mostly STM researcher. So sure. Thank you so much our guest Dr. Qudsia and Dr. Komal S and Dr. Ayaz. Thank you so much and thank you so much audience for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hasina, Dr. Ayaz. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I'm ending today's session. Thank you so much for joining us.